thank you for staying through the rain and enjoying yourselves and dancing and singing and generally showing what Bruce Trail people are all about. Lots of heart and lots of bravery and not afraid of a little bit of bad weather. It's my honor and in fact my challenge to introduce Philip Gosling to say a few words to the organization. I say challenge because really nothing that you can say about Philip can measure up to the magnitude of the work that he's done for all of us and for the people of Ontario and anyone who hikes the Bruce Trail and appreciates the Niagara Escarpment. In 1960, Philip Gosling joined Ray Lowes, naturalist and visionary from Hamilton, and other environmentalists to explore the feasibility of this crazy idea of a footpath along the Niagara Escarpment as a means to help preserve and protect the unique environment. In 1962, Philip volunteered to help realize the vision to lay out the trail. Taking a year's leave from his business, Philip began meeting with small groups of people, enthusiasts from across the length of the trail, organizing them into what we now know as our Bruce Trail clubs. This early work, inspired by Philip's appreciation as a naturalist, significantly changed the landscape of Ontario. It showed the importance of the Niagara Escarpment, and eventually we were designated the UNESCO World Biosphere Reserve, in good part because of the role that volunteers, that private citizens played in raising awareness for its protection. In 2008, the University of Guelph presented Philip with an honorary degree of Doctor of Laws for his conservation work for over half a century, including his role in establishing the Bruce Trail. His other, and this is just a short list of his other recognition, he's founding chairman of the Nature Reserves Committee of the Federation of Ontario Naturalists. He is, of course, founder and honorary president of the Bruce Trail Conservancy. He has a Natural Heritage Award from 1982. He has a Certificate of Appreciation from the province of Ontario. And he has a Mayor of Guelph Citizens Award from 2009. So it's my great pleasure to invite Philip to come forward to say a few words.
Out there, as a volunteer like you, I get interested in things, and before you know what, things begin to happen. So it is a pleasure and honor to be here at this special event. Sorry about the rain, but that's nothing to do with me. In my talk today, I want to take you back to the beginning of the Bruce Trail. This is perhaps 1960. Although this is the 50th anniversary today, it's the 50th anniversary of when the trail actually started construction. Up until that time, there was a lot going on in the background. So I think it's useful to be reminded that the Bruce Trail, as we know it, and take for granted today, was just a dream 50 years ago. That it took some effort and planning and time to make it happen. Maybe 2 years, and I might point out, not with government support, but by volunteers. We can be so proud of what we've accomplished over the past 50 years. So the four founders, as you know, they were Ray Lowes, Norman Pearson, Dr. McLaren, and myself. A little about each person. Ray Lowes, naturalist and member of the Hamilton Naturalist Club, was looking for a club project. And he was the one who came up with the idea of a footpath that followed the mountain around Hamilton. The mountain being the Niagara Escarpment. Ray was with the Steel Company of Canada at the time, and with company backing, got a lot of support and was able to retire early to be the Bruce Trail Association first secretary. Norman Pearson, who was head of planning in Burlington at the time, gave us the planner's broad view of the escarpment, which really interested me at the time. I was so short-sighted, I felt. He saw the escarpment as a whole, which impressed me. He described the ski hills, the tourism, housing, the country estates, and even gravel pits were part of the picture. So we elected him chair. That's what happens if you speak out too much. Dr. McLaren was a naturalist and surgeon. He was deputy director of the Cancer Clinic in Hamilton. Absolutely marvellous fellow. A scientist raised in Scotland, he had a huge respect for the outdoors. And Bed was a keen naturalist and leader of the Young Naturalist Club in Hamilton. We became good friends, Bert and I, and explored the escarpment and birdwatched together. And I remember, and we were both bachelors at the time, we got interested in the same lady bird one time. He married her. Didn't say a lot about me, does it? But it was a very sad day, however, when Bert died in a car accident a few years later, leaving behind his wife and 2 young boys. It was very sad. And then there was me, a businessman. Who am I? An entrepreneur, property appraiser from Guelph. I was recruited from the Federation of Ontario Naturalists, where I was head of the Nature Reserves Committee. This is a good time to mention that at the time, right at the beginning, we were actually a committee of the Federation of Ontario Naturalists. Bruce Trail Association did not exist at that time. So from the beginning, our focus then was on saving the Niagara Escarpment. And over many meetings, we agreed that the proposal of a footpath or hiking trail along the escarpment would be a wonderful way, an absolutely wonderful way to create wide support for the project. But how can this be done, and done quickly? We had seen construction happening above the skyline, above and below the escarpment edge, and we felt there was an urgent need to make progress, to seize the opportunity before it got lost. At this point, the press was getting interested. There were a lot of speeches being given, a lot of addresses. Each one of us was going to meetings and talking it up. And then one journalist wrote in the Toronto, one of the Toronto papers, "Can they save," referring to the committee, "can they save this ribbon of wilderness?" So we were feeling optimistic, but had real concerns about the number of cities. And you look at the map of Ontario and see where the Moose Trail went, where the number of cities and townships through which we had to pass. We would need permission from so many public officials, and we could only guess how many hundreds of private owners would have to be first located and then sold on the idea of granting free public access to the footpath. No small task. I haven't dropped it yet. Trying hard. I've only got 2 more pages, relax. We pressed on and helped, and a big boost came when Harvey Cavell, then a journalist with the Toronto Telegram, arranged a publicity hike from Burlington to Collingwood. I'm sure many of you have heard about that and have read about it. Harvey wrote daily stories of discoveries and adventure along the escarpment, and many photographs were taken of Raylos and one of his very famous companions on this hike, Bob Bateman. Whenever Bob got into the story, always there was news and broadcasts and lots of stories. He's such a wonderful figure in our lives today, isn't he? Anyway, by this time, there was no way back. We had to find a way to move forward. So, to make a long story short, it was decided if we could get a small grant to help us on our way, one of us would just step up and do it. Guess who? We applied to the FOA and met with success, and I volunteered. Be reminded that the Bruce Trail didn't just happen. It came about because the early vision of protecting the land struck at the very hearts of individuals who, like you, like me, who held a passionate belief that saving the Niagara Escarpment was right, not just for now, but for future generations. To pass on the joy that we experience today to our younger children, to the next generation. To teach younger people to enjoy and love nature. So then to wind up, I have to add that so many of you, like so many of you here today, the Bruce Trail changed my life. I learned the pleasure of working with others. It lengthened my stride and gave joy to my heart.